Welcome back to Joe's Son of Boxing. I want to talk about Katie Taylor. As you know, she had that rematch fight with Serrano, Amanda Serrano, Puerto Rico, on Friday. That was on the undercard of the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul obscenity. And it was a great, great fight. But since that fight's ended, people have been saying Katie Taylor is a dirty fighter, especially Amanda Serrano's team, who have been really very vocal, saying that, you know, if you look at the second Cameron fight and the Pursoon fight that Katie had and the McCaskill fight, you know, yeah, she's clearly a dirty fighter. Well, a dirty fighter implies that she's putting the head in deliberately. Okay, she's not just being reckless. She's putting that she's deliberately trying to gain an advantage by headbutting the opponent. And there were a couple of occasions in the rematch, the Serrano rematch, where I thought, yeah, that looks suspicious, very, very suspicious. Because let's not forget, you can be reckless with the head and you can be reprimanded for that, but it might not be deliberate. You might be doing it without realising as you sort of storm forward, throwing your punches. And Katie does have a very, you know, when she goes forward, she's very sort of bang, 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 you know, lots of wide punches. She boxes well, and I thought she would probably try to box a bit more with Serrano, but Serrano tagged her early with that southpaw backhand, pushed her into the ropes, and I think that sort of lit a fuse within Katie. So she thought, all right, I'm going to box a bit, but I'm going to have a row with you. I'm going to beat you at your own game too. I had Serrano winning that fight, as I said in my post-fight review. I do my reviews 5 or 10 minutes after the fight is finished, and I only ever score it as I'm watching it without knowing this live. You know, I never like scoring fights when I know the results, and also I very rarely do I go back and watch a fight again. Sometimes I do, occasionally, and I might score it differently, but most of the time, and I'm not saying my scorecards are always perfect, they're not. I miss things like we all do, but generally speaking, when I score it live, I kind of stick to that, to what I've seen, to what I think I've seen anyway. Now, Serrano's team were very vocal. They said, no, Katie Taylor's a dirty fighter. She's done this before, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, we can go down that avenue. We can talk. We can say that. I definitely think there was a lot of head work in the Chantel Cameron rematch, and that cost Cameron. At the time, I didn't think she was doing it deliberately. I think it was just a very rough and tumble fight. Don't forget, Katie herself picks up cuts as well. She had a cut in the Serrano rematch. She picked up a lot of damage in both the Cameron fights. The first Serrano fight, she was in the post fight press conference. She was dripping blood. It was actually running down the side of her face as she was talking. So this is not a lady who shies away from any kind of physicality. But in order to be called a cheat, I think you've got to say that she is doing this deliberately. And although, like I say, there were a few instances in the second, in the rematch, the Serrano rematch, where I did think, it looks suspicious. There haven't been many occasions in her career where I've thought that. Having said that, I do think she can be reckless with the head, unintentionally so. Now, the fighter that she reminds me of in that respect is Evander Holyfield, who used to use his head a lot. And I think with Holyfield, he was doing it deliberately a lot of the time, some of the time anyway. Katie has that same mentality, win, 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 I'm going to win, you know, almost obsessive. It's almost, you know, she said about after the first Cameron fight where she was defeated, there should have been a unanimous decision, in my opinion, for Cameron. She said, you know, this is not me, I'm a winner. I mean, you know, she was very, even though she's out of the ring, she's got that quivery Irish lilt, and she always says the right thing, and she's, you know, always referencing her religion and all this business. And when she gets in the ring, she's a demon, you know. A good example, along with, say, Chris Billum-Smith, of someone who, when they get in the ring, they're a bit of a monster. But outside of the ring, they're very different. Is she beyond cheating, using the head deliberately, because that's what it is, cheating? No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But does that make her a cheat? Is she a dirty fighter? Well, I'm sort of 50-50 on this, because I don't think she does it deliberately a lot of the time, or most of the time. But I do think she's reckless with the head. Now, a lot of people made the point, well, Serrano's style, she's southpaw, upright girl, she was coming in. I don't know. I'm undecided on this. That sometimes I do think there's a case to be made for calling Taylor a dirty fighter, because this has happened before. A lot of her opponents do end up busted up, and Katie isn't a big banger. She doesn't have that one punch power. She fires punches that are, will get your attention, but they're not what you'd call ultra hurtful punches. And the two Delphine Pursoon wars were, Jesus Christ. I mean, Delphine Pursoon can take some punishment. My God, that woman's built of steel. So can Katie. So can Amanda. I mean, these are real warriors. But if you get warriors in the ring, you put two of them together, you're going to get blood and guts. You're going to get rules being not ignored, but bent, intentionally or otherwise. So I'm not really convinced that she's a dirty fighter. I do think she can be reckless a lot of the time. And by the way, a referee, if you're being reckless, even if you don't realise you're doing it, a referee can penalise you. You don't have to be deliberately, knowingly, willfully dirty to have points taken off. So it is a moot point when you talk about, say, for example, the Serrano rematch the other day, where she had a point taken off. It doesn't matter whether it's deliberate. She was being, in my opinion, way too reckless with the head. There are things you're not allowed to do. And that's one of them, leaning in with the head and sort of almost ignoring the fact that you might clash heads. You can be pulled up on that. A lot of referees will let it go because they'll think, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, or it's just the person's style or whatever. But no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to stick the head in. Whether you mean to cut someone, whether you mean to headbutt them, you've got to be not cautious, but because obviously some people do have a style where they're going to move in low and the head is going to obviously come in with them. But at the same time, you're not allowed to just, almost allow someone to headbutt you. Do you know what I mean? There is a very, very thin line between deliberately headbutting someone and ignoring the fact that the heads might clash. You've got to fight a clean fight. Yeah, you saw this fight between Zerdo and Chris Billum-Smith, which was an absolute rough. That was a rough and tumble fight. I mean, look at the state of Billum-Smith's face. But I wouldn't say either of those fighters, even though they fought and they both landed flush punches continually, I don't think they were reckless with the head. If you look at William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer over the weekend, that was you know about Zepeda, he comes in like a train, like a freight train coming straight at you, throwing all sorts of punches from all angles. He's not reckless with the head, and there are other examples you can use. So is Taylor doing it deliberately? I can understand why people would say so, but most of the time I think it's just a case of her marauding forward, trying to throw lots of punches, and she kind of ignores where her head's going, if you know what I mean. That's probably the best way to put it. I don't think she thinks, right, I'm going to headbutt you. Although, again, and I know I'm contradicting myself here, I am suspicious of some of her actions in the Serrano rematch, and looking back at the Chantel Cameron fight, less so in that one, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, look, I don't have any solid, comprehensive opinion on this, but I want to get your take on it. What do you think? Do you think Katie is a dirty fighter? Do you think she deliberately headbutts opponents? Do you think she is reckless but doesn't actually realise? She doesn't actually consciously headbutt anyone. She's just got a very reckless, rough bully and charge forward style. What do you think? What do you think? And let me know. Just let me know your opinion, because, like I say, I'm kind of almost undecided on this. But I'm looking forward to reading your take on things anyway. And thank you very much for watching the video. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you're new, because it's free. It costs you nothing. And hit the like button as well, if you don't mind. Much love. Thank you very much. Hope you had a good weekend, and bye for now.